Gaming masterpieces. The thought of this came to mind because I was playing games that so many people, including myself, consider to be masterful or masterpieces, whatever you want to call it, but I began wondering what makes a game a masterpiece. I guess it's being well-rounded or consistently good in multiple areas of game design. For example, I think Hollow Knight is a masterful title where I enjoy most aspects, and I can't think of many flaws that I'd consider significant, but instead very subjective. Although I look at so many titles that I'd hold to that level of esteem, but I can normally name flaws that can be significant enough to hamper most gaming experiences. Yet for some games, I can ignore these flaws because of how well done a certain aspect or select few of aspects are. For example, I love The Witcher 3. It's a favorite of mine and there's no doubt about it. Yet there are characteristics that I'm not a big fan of. For example, I don't really care for the crafting and leveling system. I find the leveling can feel unexciting for a while, and the loot you obtain is normally much better than any weapon or armor you'd craft, unless it's a Witcher gear set, making the other diagrams feel sort of pointless. Then the combat is fine enough, it gets the job done, but it doesn't always feel thrilling, and some of the boss fights are just dull and kind of annoying. And I don't find myself randomly exploring the world to find hidden or guarded treasures as well as monster nests. I never felt that sudden urge to venture out. And even though the Witcher gear sets are cool, I would normally just look up a guide to obtain them. But with this being said about the world, I do still love the world of The Witcher 3, but for different reasons. I love the world because the characters and questlines are just so good. The writing is great, the voice acting is top-notch, and the visuals are fantastic when you consider the scope of this game. Interacting in dialogue as Geralt is just so damn enjoyable to me. The questlines make you feel so involved, whether it's the main quest or side quests. There's also this sense of complexity when it comes to characters and choices. It's not repeatedly black and white. The choices you make aren't always predictably positive or negative. There's also this sense of continuity with your choices and actions within the world, making it feel that much more well thought out and believable. And that's what I love about it. The world is believable, and this brings me to saying that maybe for a game to be a masterpiece, it's not always about being consistently good at multiple aspects, but being consistently exceptional at certain ones. You know, having that aspect that left that lasting impression on you, the one that made you think, this is special. And like I said before, there are many games that I hold in high esteem, but I can still see a single or multitude of significant flaws, making some games a flawed masterpiece. Bloodstained is an example of this for me as well. I enjoyed this game and so did many others, but the main flaw I found within it is how you progress further into the map. I brought it up in my review, but there's this one point where you have to kill an enemy who randomly drops an ability you need to progress further into the game. The problem is that I don't recall finding a hint for this, and you may need to kill the enemy multiple times before it drops the spell. I don't know if they changed the drop rate since then, but this still sounds like a strange and flawed design choice. There are other points where I didn't happen to get stuck luckily, but looking back, I don't blame the people who were stumped because the game can be pretty ambiguous and convoluted in the way that it wants you to progress further into the world. Being able to progress in the map by obtaining key items and abilities through natural exploration and contextual clues is pretty damn important for a Metroidvania title. Yet it didn't bother me as much as it would have in any other game. I still really enjoyed my time with Bloodstained. I had so much fun exploring different parts of the castle, fighting all sorts of demons and bosses. Then there's the different items, weapons, as well as spells to discover, and there's a crafting system that I didn't even bring up in my review because I was having so much fun with the core gameplay. It gave me the same vibe and love I had for Symphony of the Night. Plus the soundtrack is fucking awesome too. So like I said, sometimes a certain or a handful of aspects for a game, in this case the core gameplay and music, can be so good that the flaws that crop up may feel ignorable with how much enjoyment you're experiencing with said aspects. Of course, it's all personal preference as well. There are many people who love Ritual of the Night, yet some were slightly or extremely disappointed in the game for reasons I can understand, and some reasons that are highly subjective. For example, there's people who despise the visual style of Bloodstained. Now, I'm someone who would have preferred pixel art, but I did grow to like the 2.5D style. Some areas look really cool to me in all honesty, but like I said, it's all subjective and people put value in different areas of a game. There are certain aspects of a title that just sparks something in people to make them say, this is masterful, while for others, nothing is felt. An example for me is GTA 5. I didn't really feel much from this game and I was anticipating it. Don't get me wrong, I see the polish, the level of detail and appeal in the game, but it didn't do much for me. I didn't care for the story, I didn't care for the characters, and some of the missions made me want to blow my brains out. Yet with GTA 4, I really enjoyed it. I liked the story, I loved Nico as a character, and I enjoyed most of the missions. Plus, the shooting felt more impactful to me, and I think it's due to the physics. But when it comes to crime-driven open-world games, Sleeping Dogs is one of my favorites. The main aspect I love is that it's Hong Kong action cinema, but it's a game. The main flaw I found in the game, though, is that the pacing of the plot can be too quick, so certain characters and plot points may lack significant impact and depth due to it. Yet, I still really like the story and certain characters as well as the core gameplay. It's just really fun to me, yet for some people they find it just decent or meh, while for me, it's an underrated classic. It all depends. The aspects that sparks a person's interest and enjoyment is gonna differ amongst everyone. No one is wrong or right for disagreeing or agreeing with what games are apparent masterpieces, because it can be very personal, and how a person defines a game as a masterpiece can differ. A gaming masterpiece to me is a title that leaves such a lasting impression that makes me think back to it, that makes me want to replay it, or makes me say this was truly special. To me, it's not always about being well-rounded, but maybe being exceptional at certain aspects. But what makes a game exceptional to someone can be a variety of different reasons that may or may not affect others. A masterpiece can sometimes almost be flawless, but in some cases it can very well be the opposite. Yet it still reaches that rank of high esteem, always to be remembered by those who loved it. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.